Gaza's Nusayrat, a steady flow of bodies arrive at the main cemetery to be buried. But the site is filling up fast and space is dwindling. Palestinian Abdelaziz Abu Hindi says he is doing what he can to construct enough graves to meet demand.
The cemetery is full of people. It is with difficulty that you find a grave to put someone in. And this grave, sometimes you put 5, 6, 7 or 8 bodies. Today the bodies of martyrs are in pieces. They will bring them in bags and we will put 8 in one grave, 7 people or 8 people in one grave. Due to the lack of resources, we use stones as a result of the strikes, all of which are mud and cement. We hammer them and fix them so we can use them, and we add used metal.
Materials to construct the graves like cement blocks, metal bars and sheets of iron are found among the rubble of buildings destroyed by Israeli strikes. Abu Hindi says the usual resources are now at a premium.
Today there are no factories operating and there is no cement. A bag of cement used to cost approximately $8. Now it costs $278. It is not available. Even if it is available, people cannot afford to buy it. So we try to do things with the least costs and the least possible means.
The war in Gaza began when the Palestinian militant group Hamas stormed into Israel on October 7, 2023. 1,200 people were killed, mostly civilians, and more than 250 hostages were taken back to Gaza, according to Israeli authorities. Israel launched an air and land offensive in response that has killed more than 45,000 people, mostly civilians, according to authorities in the Hamas-run Gaza Strip.
Ukraine assassinated a top Russian general it accused of chemical weapons crimes in Moscow on Tuesday morning. A source from Ukraine's SBU has confirmed the intelligence service was responsible. It marks the most high-profile killing of its kind. Lieutenant General Igor Kirillov, who was chief of Russia's nuclear, biological and chemical protection troops, was killed outside an apartment building when a bomb hidden in an electric scooter went off. That's according to Russia's investigative committee, which investigates serious crimes, adding that his assistant also died in the blast. A local resident was near the explosion.
At first we thought that cement might have been unloaded or something similar, but the blast was so loud that it did not seem like construction works. It was very scary.
Kirillov is the most senior Russian military officer to be assassinated inside Russia by Ukraine. Russia's state RIA news agency cited former President Dmitry Medvedev, saying Ukraine now faces imminent revenge. Investigators said they had opened a criminal case into the murder of 2 servicemen. Law enforcement sources told Russian media a terrorism case was likely to be opened.
A New York judge has ruled that Donald Trump's conviction for falsifying records to cover up a sex scandal should stand. The case stems from a $130,000 payment made by Trump's former lawyer to adult film actor Stormy Daniels ahead of the 2016 election. Trump denies that the payment was made to silence her about an alleged affair. On Monday, the judge rejected arguments from Trump's legal team that presidential immunity invalidates the verdict, that found him guilty of 34 counts of falsifying business records to cover up the payment. In a 41-page court ruling, Justice Juan Merchan said Trump's actions were, quote, decidedly personal and did not interfere with presidential authority. Trump's lawyers had argued this case would hinder his presidency, but prosecutors say overturning the jury's decision would be a, quote, extreme remedy. Trump's lawyers did not immediately respond to a request for comment. When a Manhattan jury found him guilty in May, it made Trump the first U.S. president to be criminally convicted. Trump pleaded not guilty, calling the case an attempt to disrupt his 2024 campaign. The now president-elect was initially scheduled to be sentenced on November 26th. That has been postponed indefinitely after his November election victory over Vice President Kamala Harris.
A statement purporting to be the first by Syria's ousted President Bashar al-Assad said his departure from Syria was neither planned nor occurred during the final hours of the battles. The written statement, published on Monday on the Syrian presidency's Telegram channel, was posted from Moscow, where Assad has been granted asylum. It said he wanted to address distortions given during a critical juncture in the nation's history. And at no point did he consider stepping down, seeking refuge, or did he receive a proposal from an individual party. Reuters reported last week that Assad confided in almost no one about his plans to flee Syria. Aides, officials and even relatives were deceived or kept in the dark. More than a dozen people with knowledge of the events told Reuters. He was ousted after insurgent forces led by the Islamist Hayat Tahrir al-Sham swept through Syria in a lightning offensive, ending more than 50 years of iron-fisted rule by his family. Assad wrote that he left Damascus to manage combat operations from Hamiman base in Latakia on December 8. But after it came under drone attack, Moscow requested the base's command arrange an immediate evacuation to Russia. President Vladimir Putin made the decision to grant Assad asylum in Russia, which deployed its air force to Syria in 2015 to help him repel rebel forces.
Canada's finance minister quit on Monday, dealing another major political blow to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's already unpopular government. Chrystia Freeland said in a stinging resignation letter that she was quitting in the wake of a meeting last Friday with Trudeau, who had asked her to take on a lesser post after the two had argued for weeks over spending. In a letter posted to social media, Freeland said the possibility of new U.S. tariffs represented a grave threat. She wrote, "That means keeping our fiscal powder dry today, so we have the reserves we may need for a tariff war. That means eschewing costly political gimmicks, which we can ill afford." Her resignation came just hours before she was due to present an economic update to Parliament. That update showed Canada's fiscal deficit for 2023-2024 came in at over $43 billion, more than half of what was projected last year. Freeland also served as Deputy Prime Minister, and her resignation leaves Trudeau without a key ally in cabinet at a critical juncture. She joins a wave of cabinet ministers who have either already quit or announced they won't run in the next election. Approval ratings indicate Trudeau would lose badly to the opposition Conservatives in the next election, which must be held before the end of October 2025. Dominic LeBlanc, the public safety minister and a member of Trudeau's inner circle, was sworn in as the new finance minister later on Monday. Before entering politics in 2013, Freeland worked as a journalist and in senior editorial roles with several media companies, including the Financial Times, the Globe and Mail, and Reuters News, where she worked from 2010 to 2013.